Hi, welcome to our daily encounter. Today we get into the book of Psalms. And the book of Psalms is a very beloved book by Christians across the globe, and there's a reason for it. The book of Psalms really touches just about every aspect of our lives. I don't know if you've ever heard the expression, there's an app for that, because if you think about it, for those who have smartphones and knows what apps are, you know that there's pretty much an app for everything. And you think about it, you search an app for it, and you'll probably find it. Well, the same thing is true with the Psalms. When it comes to the various circumstances of life, situations of life, whether you're talking about heartache, pain, sorrow, fear, or if you're talking about happiness, joy, thanksgiving, all of it's contained in the book of Psalms. And so you read through the book of Psalms, you're guaranteed to come across at least one psalm, if not multiple psalms, that speak specifically to your situation, whatever situation you're in. And one thing about our lives is that our situations change so often. If you think about the weather is something that changes all the time. I know earlier this year we had some very dry weather here where I live. And to the point that the ground was cracking, the grass was dying. But soon enough, the rain came. And we got a lot of rain in the area. And life sprouted up again. Things started to green again. But now it's beginning to get dry again. And so that's really a good description of our lives. Our lives is much like the weather. One day it's stormy, there's tornadoes, lightning, whatever you want to call it, however you want to describe it. And then the next day there's sunshine and joy and happiness, brightness, life. And then the next day perhaps we're back in a storm again. Our lives are constantly like the tide going back and forth, ebbing and flowing. And this can be a little bit disheartening to think about how our lives are always changing. That there seems to be no consistency. When we think about our spiritual life, maybe one day we're on fire for the Lord, we're passionate, we're full of joy, and the next day we're dry as a bone, can hardly lift up our mouths to say a prayer. And we kind of lament the fact that our lives many times has no consistency. Well, Psalms chapter 1 gives us really the secret to a consistent life. A consistent life. There is something in our life that is sure and steadfast. There's something in our life that can bring a level of consistency. And that is the Word of God. The Word of God. This is how the psalmist describes it in Psalms 1. He says, "How blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, nor stand in the path of sinners, nor sit in the seat of scoffers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law he meditates day and night. He will be like a tree firmly planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in its seasons, and its leaf does not wither, and in whatever he does, he prospers." So when it comes to life, the way to find some consistency is not by hanging out with scoffers, living with the wicked, and things like that. But it's having a consistent contact with God's Word. This is the way the psalmist describes it. He says, for one, this person will delight himself in the law of the Lord. One of the main things that we're doing here in our daily encounter is engaging in God's Word, touching God's Word every day. And it should be that we are engaging God's Word out of a love for His Word. And say, Lord, I love your Word. I love reading about people of faith. I love hearing what you have to say to me. I love hearing you talk about life, talk about the purpose of life, the meaning of life. I just love your Word, God. And when we come to God's Word on a daily basis, if we're really going to get a full effect from the Word, we got to come to it with delight. We got to come to it with the right attitude. If we're going to God's Word and saying, well, I better get my chapters read, this is just something that I've, or this is just part of my life, part of my routine, and I don't really think about just how wonderful and precious it is to have God's Word right there in front of me that I can read at any time. We're not going to get as much out of it. But we not only delight in the law of the Lord, but we meditate on it day and night. One of the things that might occur if we are going into God's Word on a daily basis, such as what we're doing here at Our Daily Encounter, is that we might just read our scriptures. Maybe we read them in the morning, or maybe we read them at night. And as the day goes by, or when we wake up in the next morning, we don't even think about what we read. And by the time a few hours go by, we think back and we can't perhaps even remember what it was that we read. And if we're doing that, we're not really getting the true goodness out of God's Word. It's through meditating on God's Word where God's Word really gets to work in us and saturate us from within. We've got to think about it. We've got to chew on it. Whatever we read, we think about it during the day. As we encounter different circumstances, we might think of them in light of what we read that day. Start thinking about, what did the psalmist mean when he made this statement? What does that mean for me? How does that apply to my life? And just all day long, just kind of go back to the reading that you did that day, and just think about it, mull over it, even if you have to read it 2 or 3 times through the day to keep it fresh on your mind. Meditating is what really gets the nutrients out of God's Word. And so we ought to always couple our reading of the Word with our meditating on the Word. But look at the life that comes out of that. A person who loves God's Word, he's meditating, he's thinking about it all the time. He's like a tree firmly planted by streams of water. Think about that tree. A tree that's firmly planted by streams of water isn't so dependent upon his environment or his circumstances, right? You think about a tree out in the middle of a field, he's really dependent upon the rain. He's dependent upon the seasons to bring the rain in due time. But a tree planted by the waters is just constantly getting life from the water. And day in and day out, the water flows past this tree, and the tree soaks it up. And there's consistency in that type of situation. And when we get into God's Word on a daily basis, and we're not just reading it to read it, but we're actually loving it and we're actually meditating on it, we have consistency in our life because we're getting the full effects of God's Word in our lives, and we're just soaking it up and saturating ourselves with it. And God's Word is that one thing in our life that is always consistent. Our relationships might change, our social status might change, our jobs might change, our locality might change, but God's Word never changes. And it's that one thing we can go to on a day-to-day basis, and it will always be there, and it'll always give us the same nutrients, the same life, day in and day out. And so when we draw from that, we become like a tree planted by the water, no longer dependent upon our circumstances, our situation, what's going on in our lives, but leaning upon the refreshing water of God's Word. Also, it says that this tree will yield its fruit in its seasons. When we are filled with God's Word, we are in the proper place to then go out and yield fruit. God's Word puts our mind in the right mindset to where we are looking for opportunities to bear fruit, but it also helps us in being able to produce that fruit. Unfortunately, a lot of Christians are ill-equipped to producing fruit for the Lord simply because they're not in God's Word and they don't know God's Word. If an opportunity arises for them to share the gospel with someone, they wouldn't even know where to start. And that's sad. The more we are in God's Word, the more knowledgeable we are about it, and the more equipped we become. Remember what Paul told Timothy, that the Word of God is profitable for doctrine, for teaching, for reproof, for correction, for training in righteousness, so that the man of God might be fully equipped unto every good work. God's Word equips us for good work and for bearing fruit. But then also it says that the leaf does not wither. That is, that the leaf remains green all the time. In other words, every time you go to that tree, there is life. And I imagine you can probably think of some people in your life that was like that. People that you know were consistently in God's Word, and as a result became consistent people. There were people that you could always go to and see that there was life there. Not just life, physical life, but spiritual life. And that this person was always filled with the life of God and beaming with the presence of God, because they were daily contacting God's Word. And so when you went to them, you didn't have to guess, well, if this person's going to be in a good mood or a bad mood. I don't really know how to approach this person because I just never know how they're going to be feeling that day. Well, a person who's in God's Word on a day-to-day basis can always be expressing life, can just be a well of water springing up to everlasting life, overflowing with life to the point that other people will notice it, just as they would notice a tree with the green leaves. And then lastly, it says, in whatever he does, he prospers. And you want to talk about a prosperous life. And I'm not talking about having a garage full of cars or having a 2-story house, but a prosperous life, a prosperous life within, a rich life, a life overflowing with abundance of grace, abundance of love, abundance of fruit. If you're in God's Word and you love it and you meditate on it all the time, your life is going to be prosperous. Your inner life is going to be rich. And so this is the type of life that we should be aiming for. And God's Word can help us achieve that. To give us consistency. To help us be those type of people who are just firmly planted, always receiving life from the Word of God, and always ready to share that life with others. Well, thank you guys for listening in today. I love you guys. Hope you guys have a great day. God bless.